What's going on out here on Lake Lafayette?
So we're doing some tussock harvesting out here, and we're kind of next to our disposal area here. Once the harvester's working out behind us out here, bringing in the tussock material and bringing it here to the berm here at Lafayette, between Lafayette and Lake Piney Z. And the city of Tallahassee is they're running an excavator and a dump truck, and basically they're pulling this material as the contractor dumps it here, and they're hauling it up the berm to a disposal site in an upland area. So it's a pretty great partnership between FWC and Tallahassee, and it was really made this project an ease to have that partnership.
So, growing up in Florida, been on a lot of lakes. It wasn't until recently I knew what a tussock was. I've learned, but what's a tussock? It's not a word that a lot of folks know what that even is. And you say we're removing tussocks from Lake Lafayette.
Yeah, tussocks are basically masses of floating plants. And they could just be the plants themselves, or they can kind of grow over time as plants die off and they build organic material. And so they become this kind of floating, almost mud, with vegetation growing on top of them. And they can grow exponentially, especially with invasive plants, over time, and kind of take over a lake.
Right. So exactly, so if we didn't manage this lake, or many of the lakes that we manage, so what would Lafayette be like if we just said, let it go, let nature take its course?
So if we just left it alone and didn't do anything, these tussocks would basically fill in the majority of the lake, and kind of completely block out fish habitat and waterfowl habitat, and you really would just get kind of a boggy marsh. So you would still get some bird usage, but that's really about it. There would be no fishing here, no fishery here, no waterfowl, anything to that nature.
No paddling trail for the
paddling
cooners.
Trail.
It gets so bad that you can't even get a kayak or a canoe through it. That's not.
Yeah.
We're not even talking motorboats. It's how thick that the growth is.
You can't walk on it. You can't. I mean, you can't do anything.
Right. Right. You know, growing up in Florida, I remember back in the '60s, went to some lakes, and you know, at that time, hyacinth would be taking over certain lakes, and the agencies weren't, you know, maybe on their game. And we lost lakes. I remember seeing lakes where it's nothing but green from side to side, and it's sort of a lake under there, but you couldn't use it.
Yep.
And I remember doing that in South Florida where I grew up. And so, you know, FWC is this lead state agency for that problem, for managing plants, right?
Yes.
And so what do we use? We use these machines here, but what else do we use?
So we use the machines you see here, harvesters, and we also use herbicide. In a lot of cases, it's much less expensive and an easy way to especially spot treat things. We can also use what's called a shredder, which is somewhere between herbicide and a harvester, and it's kind of like a giant tussock lawnmower that basically chops this stuff up and allows us to sink out. And probably a third method that's not really talked about, that's not always easily done as well, is you can do drawdowns and then mechanically move the tussocks off the lake bottom as the lake is dry. So you would bring excavators and dozers out on the lake bottom and haul that stuff out, which is quite a undertaking.
All right. So Florida's got a problem. We've got invasive plants. We can't change that, and they grow out of control. But through management, using all those tools, and we use them all in different situations, we have some really good lakes with trophy catch, bass fishery, great duck hunting. But it takes a lot of work. And it's expensive, is what we're doing here, but it's worth it. I think we're providing a great resource for the people, you know. So, but left to its own devices with these non-native invasive plants, I've seen it. They will cover a lake from shore to shore, and you will no longer have a lake.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.